Hey guys, Joni Dillon here, reporting from Las Vegas at the Cosmopolitan. I wanted to get this video out to you today, and what it is video number 2 in the 3-part video series, 3 Pillars to Successful Selling, guys. Pillar number 2 is posture. Excuse me, it's posture. And posturing begins from the very beginning. You can tell it's been a rough day in Vegas. It starts from the very beginning when you first pick up and meet your client, guys, okay? Now, I'm not going to get into the basics of handshaking and all of that kind of stuff, guys, but you need to have an assertive connection, assertive handshake, a connection. Don't be overly assertive when it comes to this, guys. I actually, personally, it was a power thing on my side, but I would tend to actually be a little softer than I normally am with a handshake with my guests. Why? Because I wanted to invite them in first, right? But I was very assertive in my greeting, okay? And we'll talk about that on another video. So posturing begins from the moment you pick up your clients, all right? And what it really comes down to is you taking control of the entire process, start to finish, okay? They need to know that you are the authority figure when it comes to what you are going to be talking about, which is selling timeshare, right? You are the authority figure, whether it's an update and you're talking to an owner and you're helping them, or it's a non-owner. You are the expert when it comes to this industry, okay? So there are a lot of ways to really set the tone, to set that posture. Some of the things that I always teach my students to do is to, right off the bat, start giving directions, okay? You want them to see you as someone who's actually whether they realize it or not, you're telling them what to do and they're taking direction. So there is sort of a submissive role that they start taking without even realizing it. So if you serve food, if your site serves food, or if there's a process that you go through, you want to walk them through that process down to, okay, guys, here's where you're going to pick up your food, your drinks and your coffees right over here. As soon as you're done, stay here, wait here for me. I'll be right back. I'm going to pick you up and I'm going to take you over to my desk, guys, and I'm going to tell you what we're going to do today. Guys, grab your food, take your time. I'll be waiting for you in just a moment. Okay, it's that simple. But you see what that did is that actually it allowed them to kind of say, okay, this chick's in charge, okay? She's got to tell us what to do. And that's fine. But sometimes we're going to get people who are a bit pushy, right? We get those jerks or those, what holes, right? And I'm going to cover that in just a second. Another thing that you can do is as soon as they sit down, slide a piece of paper, you can't see me, but slide a piece of paper in front of them and tell them, hey guys, I know you got some food. We actually serve food at our site. So if they're doing that, if not, take some time, here's some water, take your drinks, whatever it is that you're eating, and I want you to fill this out for me real fast, guys. Here's a pen, fill this out, I'll be right back, right? You're giving another instruction, another command of telling them what to do, guys. So powerful to set this tone from the beginning. If they sense any sort of weakness coming from you, they're going to pick up on that, guys, and they're going to jump on it, and they're going to turn into the alpha, guys. And I'm really talking about this whole alpha beta scenario. There's a gentleman called Oren Klaff who really covers this well. And there's a blog post, actually, if you go to my blog, or you're probably on my blog right now. If not, head over to timesharesalesmastery.wordpress.com and check it out. It's I think it's called Own the Frame, something like that. Anyway, you'll find it. Look up Oren, O-R-E-N, Klaff, okay? Guys, it's awesome. But what he talks about are the alpha and beta roles that we take on in selling, okay? And as soon as you lose being an alpha, game over, guys, okay? So we have to learn how to acquire, and it happens all the time through negotiations, or sales pitches, right? We have to, it's a power battle the whole time. So we have to always make sure that as soon as we lose control, we gain it back, okay? So there's so many tricks to doing this. I'm going to cover a couple of those today. Sometimes, though, what happens, guys, is like I was going back to what I was talking about, you are you encounter a tour who is just kind of a jerk, right? And you know this from the beginning, okay? This doesn't mean you don't want to be assertive. You want to be assertive with this person, guys, because you need to let them know they are in your domain, okay? They're in your domain. This is your 3-foot table, as I call it, or wherever you sit, right? That is your domain. So you still want to give them directions. But when that person starts smarting off and just kind of saying, yeah, we looking at their clock, we got to go, we don't want to hear this, guys, you need to call them out on that immediately. You need to call them out immediately, okay? And this is where posturing is so huge, and a lot of reps fail because they get weak inside. They really start getting weak, okay? And what happens is they're like, oh God, this person, I don't know what to do. They start kind of panicking out of control. And what you want to do, guys, you got to muster up. One of my friends who actually used to work at Wyndham and now an internet marketer, he uses this sign called, or this saying or phrase called be 10 times bolder. Okay, Cesar Rodriguez, be 10 times bolder. And I love that. And I always try to channel that anytime I'm feeling weak is just be 10 times bolder, guys. Get out of your discomfort and just say what you want to say to really get that point across, okay? So here's some of the things that you can actually say or do when you get some jerk who's like just dismissing you, right? One of the things, and this does depend if you're frontline or in-house, okay? One of the things that I would always say is, guys, and I'm in-house, right, is, hey, John, let me ask you a question. It seems like you're being really dismissive here right now, and you're really kind of, being a little bit rude. I mean, I'm here to help you. I don't know if you realize that. I am here to help you. You are here for 45 minutes. We've got limited time, and I have some things to cover. So is there something that you actually came in here to learn today? Or are you just trying to dismiss everything and just walk out of here with your gift? Because if you are, I mean, you didn't really come in here for a $100 gift card, did you? I mean, I'm assuming you guys actually came in here to learn something, right? And you turn it on them. Do you see what I just did? Okay, so that's one tip. Another thing that you can do when you have somebody who's just kind of being a jerk, and you definitely want to call them out on their behavior, guys. Never let them be disrespectful to you on your table. This is where you lose control and you then become the beta and all hell breaks loose. If they're being really disrespectful, guys, you definitely want to let them know that they are in a polite but assertive way, and almost to the point where it's awkward and a little bit uncomfortable and they get that they're being an asshole, and then say, you know what? I need a minute. And you get off the table and you make them wait. Because do you see what that just did? Is that now makes them say, God, if I'm going to be a jerk, we're going to be stuck here. Because they really are, to a certain extent, held to your mercy until you kind of let them go. So you want to make them know that you are controlling that time and you are controlling what happens on that table. And you tell them, give me a minute, I'll be right back. And then you come back and you say, all right, now where were we? Let's get back into this. Okay, so that's a tip that I always used to use. Now, another thing is, those people, when it comes to posturing, those people that just talk and talk and talk? Well, guys, it could be part of their personality. I'm sure it is to a huge extent. But the other thing is they're really just trying to waste your time because they know they're there on a time frame. And so they're trying to waste time so you can't get to the part where you're actually selling them. Does that make sense? So when they start telling these stories and stories after story, guys, let them talk a little bit because you got to hear these people, right? But at some point you need to say, hey, John, hey, I really love your story. I love where you're going with this, but I have a lot of stuff I need to cover, and I really don't think you guys want to be here all day. So let me just get back to this if we could, and then if we have time at the end, definitely want to cover it, okay? Or I want to hear it, okay? So that's another way that you interrupted him, and you said, hey, listen, I like the fact that you're talking and telling me the story, so you're acknowledging them, right? And I definitely want to hear it, but let's get through some things that we need to hear, or we need to talk about first, and then we'll get to it at the end, okay? If you just are like, oh my God, sometimes it happens where you're like, what do? I can't interject, right? And that happens too. One of my girlfriends cracks me up every time I hear this. She'll take her hands and she'll slam them on the table and she'll go, oh my God, sorry. She'll say, do you smell popcorn? And they're like, what the F, right? They're like looking around and they don't really get it, but everybody else in the room's dying of laughter, right? Who heard it? And she'll just slam her hands on the ground because that jolts them out of the trance that they were in, right? And if you're bold enough to say that, see, it's not really my style, so I couldn't really do that. But what I'll say is I'll just stop and I'll go, oh my gosh, give me just a minute. I get off the table for 30 seconds. I come back. Sometimes I'll do this and I'll say, okay, now where were we? And then I get back into it, okay? So if you need to get off the table because you don't know how to interrupt them and kind of move on and take control, then do that. And that's okay. Okay. But always make sure that you have maintained control. Okay. Now there's another thing, one last thing I want to talk about when it comes to posturing. Okay. And that is, don't be afraid to leverage your expertise outside of this industry, guys. That is so huge. And I think a lot of times we forget, many of us have backgrounds maybe in real estate or financial services, the insurance industry, car sales. Gosh, for me, I went to graduate school. I have a master's in business. So I always use that to really make them realize I'm a numbers gal. I might be a talker, I might be, whatever, but I know my stuff, guys, and I crunch numbers like crazy. I'll be the first person, so I'll tell them that I'll insert that piece somewhere throughout casual conversation so it doesn't look like I'm bragging or anything, right? But I'll say, I got my master's in business and clearly I'm using my degree, right? And I kind of make a joke out of it. And I'll say, but one of the things that I actually learned from my degree was, I focused a lot on finance, and so I'm really a numbers gal, and I'm really kind of not. I am a numbers gal, but I don't love it, okay? And I'll tell them, I break everything down, and I'm so analytical. So guys, when I'm about to get into this area, I have done everything to really discredit this, but it just makes so much sense, right? So you're using your background, your expertise, and you might also want to establish credibility, right? And to make them realize that you are the authority figure. But a lot of people use it in the beginning as well. When you are pre-framing and you're going through and you're explaining, I think it's really important to explain who you are and your background because that gives a personality to you. You're just not a salesperson there, right? So if you talk about, just take 30 seconds and say, hey guys, I just want to tell you a little story about me. I'm just this, one of my old managers used to say, I'm just this guy from Vegas, and I grew up under craps tables, and and he kind of cracks a joke, and and then I realized when I went off to college and my parents stopped paying my bills, stopped sending me checks, he goes into this little story, but it really makes it real as to who he is, and drops some seeds of credibility in there as well, okay? And your past, there are so many ways you can leverage that in what you do to establish that authority figure and positioning, and definitely use it. Okay, guys, I hope you got a lot of value out of this video on the second pillar to successful selling, guys, and it is posture. Get out there as always. Be unstoppable. This is Joni from Timeshare Sales Mastery. It is late, but I'm about to get up and get some energy and get out and go party. All right, guys, have fun. Take care. Joni.